energy that came to them. Then their body started vibrating, they felt muscle cramps. And then month later, they found your teachings and they experienced the same sensations again, those strong energy flow, the muscle cramps, when they listened to your information. Can you help him or her understand how to interpret this energy?
Well, in a sense, you were given a preview of the kind of energy that connects you more strongly to your higher mind, to spirit, by being open to that kind of energy at a funeral. It's not dissimilar to the kind of energy you experience by connecting to the higher mind and spirit. So you were, in a sense, allowed a preview of the kind of vibrational information that can come to you by being willing to be open to receiving that information. At first, your body may not be used to the frequency, and you may experience the idea of those bodily neurological spasms, but you'll get used to it in time. So just be open to it, and anytime you think back to the idea of being in the state you were in at the funeral, whether you feel exactly the same or not, just know you are open into that state, and go forward with your imagination and apply that energy in whatever way, shape, or form creatively you wish to by acting on your passion in life, and synchronicity will do the rest.
Thank you. Do you know if cannabis or psychedelics was or currently is being used by extraterrestrials as a communication tool? Can it be used as a way to link into the consciousness and awareness of another person? This person says they often feel it could make awareness of other beings more present, but it also felt like it was somewhere in the future, that its components could be used to enhance telepathy and communication through a feeling of energy rather than using speech.
Yes. As we have already said, with regard to the idea of the future hybrids, including Willa Hillichrising, going through the different stages of mastery, a substance, a teacher called divinorum, is often used to make interdimensional linkages. And so different extraterrestrial beings at different times and different civilizations use the teachers of their own planet that grow naturally to aid and assist them in this endeavor.
So, and on that idea, sometimes we have large gatherings that are called rock concerts or music concerts. Yes. Where there can be large numbers of people, like 50,000 people, yes, all getting into a very excited, happy state, dancing, singing, all yes, of that. And for some people, that seems to open up the doorways for some form of ET contact.
Of course, this is ancient shamanism. That's all this is. Remember, drumming circles, dancing circles, vibrations, frequencies, resonance. It's all about that. It doesn't matter how you accomplish it as long as there is unity and harmony in the frequencies with the intent going in a similar direction. We are aware that just recently it has been recorded that at a certain concert from the individual you know as Taylor Swift, individuals were vibrating in harmony to such an extent that it was actually recorded as a 2.2 earthquake.
That's exciting.
There are powers in harmonies. There are powers in resonances. It doesn't matter how you achieve this.
I know there was one rock musician who was very fascinated by these ideas, and he suggested that certain arenas like the Superdome, they look like spaceships, and that yes, there somehow might be a way for an entire group of people to levitate such a thing. Is that realistic, or is that real? Or
yes, it is potentially true. It depends upon the intent and the focus of the individuals. But there is enough power to do that.
So if you had 50,000 people in that...
And in any event, In many cases, you will find that portals are being opened with those resonances.
So is it similar to a galactic gathering when these kinds of events occur, where there's so many people in such an ecstatic state?
Smaller scale, but yes, similar in principle.
So they aren't necessarily conversing as much as they are celebrating together? Would that be?
What's the difference?
Well, it seems like there's a frequency difference between just regular communication and celebration.
You can generalize the vibration into what you would perceive as a celebration, but there is always communication. Joy spreads outward. Joy ripples outward to infinity, always. And that is a message.
The channel once mentioned the idea that if you had 50,000 people in that kind of a state and they all focused on levitation, is that the idea that they could literally all levitate together? Or
it's possible, although again, you have to take into account whatever belief systems are in the collective. It might be easier for all of them to imagine that they could each levitate an object rather than themselves. So you may start slow and simple, but you will be able to see demonstrations of this if the intentional focus is harmonized in that way.
it's a very exciting possibility to utilize those kinds of circumstances. I suppose it's like that at a football game too, where people are so excited, but it's a little different because the energy is competitive, I suppose.
In the future, we perceive that gatherings at such stadiums will be primarily for the kind of purposes we are talking about right now.
That's really exciting. Is there a limit to the human population that planet Earth can sustain?
Well, of course, it depends on how you allocate your resources. The way you are allocating your resources now, you have exceeded the limit that is capable of surviving and thriving. However, were you to reallocate resources, eliminate certain political, social, religious limitations, and allow equalization to occur in certain ways, you could find that the Earth could sustain 10 to 12 billion individuals quite comfortably, but major changes would be required.
In a sense, any ship that uses that technology can be called a Nexus-style ship.
And was the USFO that crashed at Roswell just as alive as that?
No. Different kind of technology altogether, a little bit more akin to your understanding of technology.
Do stories and fictional universes actually exist in their own right? And we are sort of seeing them and tapping into their energy when we read something or think about them?
They can. Now, that doesn't mean that they're necessarily all experienced in the same kind of physical way that you experience your reality, but that doesn't mean that they're any less real. So when we say that they're all real in one way, shape, or form, you have to understand that that may include a multitude of dimensions, including the spirit realm. So they're not necessarily physical in the way that you know it, but they are real. You are tapping into a real reality on some level of consciousness. Now, again, some of them may be absolutely the way you imagine them, and some of them may be a little bit different. But somewhere along the line, all the attributes are real, whether they all belong in one reality or several.
Okay. One individual, when they were a child, they dreamed that they basically visited inner Earth. And they felt that they were being teased by adults about this idea.
Yes.
Is there an actual inner Earth culture or an inner Earth reality?
Yes, but it's not actually physically in your Earth. It's in another dimension. Many people may mistake the idea that it's inside your Earth physically because of how they may arrive there by going through different portals that sometimes can be underground or in caves or what have you. But without knowing it, they may have actually literally shifted into a different dimensional reality and still assume that they're on the Earth or in the Earth that they were originally on, which they're not until they go back through the portal and come back out onto their original reality, so to speak. But the idea is that there are other dimensions that are perceived as being inside physical objects such as a planet, but they're not literally there necessarily. They can be, but they're not literally there in your case. So people that find themselves in what they perceive to be inner Earth are actually in another dimension that they've shifted to without necessarily knowing it.
And can you tell us anything about what it's like there?
Well, there are many different kinds of places there. There isn't just one place that people go to. There are shells within shells within shells within shells of dimensions within dimensions within dimensions within dimensions. So it just depends on what frequency you entered the portal in as to where you wind up.
And also what's relevant to your life theme in terms of what information you receive about that environment?
Yes, so there isn't one place I can tell you about.
In fact, aren't most of these things sort of geared towards what will excite us on a deep level based on our own unique?
Well, generally speaking, or they're certainly geared toward the idea of the kind of information that you agreed to participate in the theme of exploration on Earth.
And that's why people have so many different kinds of experiences, because it's all uniquely tailored for their consciousness.
Of course it is. How could it be otherwise?
Right. Yes, because you're doing it. This individual is very excited about Atlantis, and he wanted to know, or she, some hot spots to go to tap into Atlantean energy and give themselves the opportunity to receive information there.
Well, certainly the Bahamas, the areas you know as Cuba, the area you know as the Yucatan, and even across the sea, the area that you know as Crete. Some areas in Spain, some areas in the area you call North Africa and ancient Egypt do still have some Atlantean remnants to the ideas of survivors that went there. So any of those places can be energy centers that you can gravitate yourself to based on what you're attracted to do or experience, that can allow you, as a permission slip, more efficacy in tapping into Atlantean information.
And I know the Bimini Road, many people think that it's underwater.
Yes,
and you can actually swim along and look at the Bimini Road.
Yes, well, it wasn't originally a road. It's a collapsed wall.
Oh. Yeah, because it just looks like these huge concrete blocks.
Yes.
That stretch on for a long period of time, and you can swim along it.
Yes. Well, if you look on a map that shows you what that area looked like when the water level was lower during the Ice Age, the ocean level was lower, you will see what the actual outline of that main Atlantean island was. And you can see more clearly when the water is lower, where other locations also allowed for cities to be built. But again, remember, even though many people depict the concept of ancient Atlantis as looking sort of Grecian, the true architecture of Atlantis is more the idea of Mayan or Aztec.
And it's quite rural in the sense of the society itself, yes?
Well, in a sense, yes. There were some main city parts, but for the most part, yes, the cities were quite open. There was quite a lot of rural countryside that surrounded them and was utilized for farming and different purposes.
Will a time come where we'll actually be able to, in a sense, see, because our vibration is higher? Like, can you see Atlantis?
Yes.
From your vibrational level?
Absolutely. That's why we're telling you the architecture isn't what most people think.
That's so interesting. So we're capable of achieving that in our lifetime, yes?
Yes, of course.
Well, that's interesting. Okay, so this question has to do with interacting with different versions of a person. And does each version represent a different, distinct soul that you're looking at when you
If you're talking about the idea of one single body, then no. Doesn't represent different souls. It represents different aspects of the same soul.
Okay. And then when people are a different version because they're in my reality that I prefer, does that different version depend on me, or is there something that they do? So does this mean that if I experience something that I view as negative, it's up to me to change my vibration, which will then give me a different version of that person?
That can happen, yes. But the idea is that you're taking some information from them in your telepathic contact, and you're rendering out of your own energy, out of your own consciousness, a reasonable facsimile, not only of what you're getting from them, but also what you're taking from your own belief systems and what you need to see. So yes, very often changing your frequency, coming from a different place, will allow you to, quote unquote, manufacture a different version of them, because you've shifted to another reality where there already is a different version of them, because now you're coming from a different place, a different frequency, a different reality.
Yeah, occasionally you will actually hear of somebody having a negative interaction with someone and then going into a meditative state, communicating with that person on a higher level in a sense, and balancing their own energy in relation to what was communicated to them, and then going back and reconnecting with the physical person and finding that their behavior has also changed.
Correct, but the truth is their behavior hasn't changed because the person they're dealing with is actually a different person.
Okay, so they're getting another version of that person.
Because they're in a different parallel version of Earth, yes.
It's very interesting because it really does shift the focus back to your own personal responsibility, but at the same time, you're not to blame for other people's negative behavior, or the fact that you see another person's negative behavior does not mean that's a one-on-one reflection of your own negativity.
Correct. The issues that other people may have that you attract into your life may have nothing to do with your issues, but there's a reason why they're there. It might be because you need to help them. It might be because you need to act as a sounding board in some way or a reflection to them for their issues, whether they know it or not. But generally speaking, though it can sometimes be a one-to-one reflection, it isn't always. You have to have the discernment to be able to tell what's actually going on and why that person has been attracted or at least allowed by you into your life.
Yes, and the idea is what you do with the transmission or the receipt of information from that person.
Absolutely.
It puts it back in your court that what you do with it will determine the effect that you get out of it.
Yes, because no matter how the situation originated, whether it was created from negativity, no matter what anyone else's experience or opinion is or perspective is of the situation, you still get to determine how the situation will affect you because you're the one affecting yourself with your relationship and definition of that particular situation. So you can always get a benefit no matter what happens, depending on what you choose to do in relation to that circumstance.
And when people die at the same time, like in a plane crash or something like that, do they have an awareness of the other people who are transitioning at the same time that they do?
Sometimes, not always. Again, it depends upon their vibrational path.
Yeah, it's just so interesting, like that a whole group of people would get on a plane and when it crashes, they're all transitioning simultaneously.
Yes. Well, it's not really, if you stop and think about it, any more mysterious than all the people getting on the plane because they happen to be going to the same city. It's just that they're going to a city they didn't necessarily realize they were going to.
Yeah. That's intense.
Well, again, it's no more mysterious than the kind of orchestration that happens when you get on any particular kind of a device. So again, the orchestration of getting a certain amount of people on a certain vehicle to go to a certain city is an orchestration. This is no different.
And it's also if the people may not be aware that they've chosen that, but at some level, they've taken the exit in a sense.
Yes.
For whatever their specific purpose was or reasoning was, or it was their time.
Whether they know it or not, they have bought a ticket to that particular destination in a coordinated orchestration with the others. Those that haven't, you will find, as you often hear, will find themselves not necessarily getting on that plane for one reason or another synchronistically.
Yeah, this certainly brings back memories of the 9/11 situation.
Yes. Yeah. And again, none of this excuses the perpetration of these particular kinds of events, but people will take advantage of whatever they need to take advantage of for a variety of reasons. And remember that sometimes those reasons are a higher level of themselves may be willing to go out that way to help the people that remain behind realize how to make sure things like that aren't necessarily opportunities for people in the future ever again. Because there are many ways that you can leave physical reality. It does not have to be through the idea of disaster or terrorism or anything like that. You will find a way when it's your time to find a way. But the idea can be that certainly those kinds of ways don't need to be the ways if you feel that that is too disruptive to the psyche that allows you to find a peaceful situation in your reality.
So is there anything we can do to consciously choose the way we die instead of it just randomly happening when the time is right?
Well, yes, of course there is. There are several ways. But the idea, of course, is you don't necessarily have to pay attention to that, or you don't really have to necessarily know about that. If there is purpose, then yes, you can know. A well-known story on your planet comes from an individual known as Cochise, who knew the exact time of his death and predicted it. But again, it's not always important that you know that. If there is purpose to it, you will know. But again, the only way it's most likely you will know if you need to know is by, guess what? Following the formula.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Because anything, any kind of information that is truly relevant for you to know about on your journey, on your path, will come to you when you follow the formula, because the formula leaves nothing relevant out.
For example, like with Steve Irwin, he was definitely following his passion when he was swimming with that stingray.
Yes.
And yet that turned out to be the way that he was going to exit the planet.
And many people will choose to do that while they're doing something they love to do. In a sense, they're, quote unquote, dying happy.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a good way to approach it then. Do what excites you the most with integrity and following all the other elements of the formula. And if it is your time, that will, at least you will go out doing something you love doing.
Absolutely. If you want to put it in those pragmatic terms, that can work. Again, please do remember that when you do transition, you will understand exactly why you may have chosen that path, and it'll be perfectly fine.
And so energetically and mechanically speaking, what does it mean to be grounded or ungrounded?
Well, again, in true alignment with yourself is grounding. Misalignment, being out of alignment with yourself, is ungrounding, for lack of a better term, to put it in the most simplistic way.
So in a sense, when you follow a shamanic path, do you need to keep a foot in both worlds, so to speak?
As long as you find that it is not your time to transition, then automatically, yes, because any shaman or anyone in balance acts like a link or a bridge between the physical and non-physical realities. So yes, you're automatically a bridge. Therefore, 1 foot in each realm is exactly what needs to happen.
And that's a skill unto itself.
Yes, it is. It's an art like anything.
Referred to as, oh, you must have an unconscious belief or a subconscious belief that is hindering you in some way, in some negative way. In my understanding from what you said, I would believe more that that is coming from a conscious learned belief or habit or pattern that you've picked up along your physical trail. Could you please elaborate more on what is this statement? It's an unconscious belief, subconscious belief. Is it true that the unconscious mind and the subconscious mind could actually hold negative beliefs for us and affect us in our lives like that? Thank you.
What's the difference? The idea is that patterns and habits are the product of certain subconscious and unconscious beliefs, and therefore they can hold you back from being yourself as long as you continue to buy into them as being more true than the alternative. They form patterns and habits when you might have a fear-based belief that says, don't move forward, keep repeating this, keep going here, keep going there, keep doing this, keep doing that. That prevents you from moving forward. But those so-called patterns and habits are still the product of belief systems, fear-based beliefs, that you may be keeping in your subconscious or unconscious mind because the belief is convincing you not really to deal with them, not to look at them. Just keep repeating the safe things that you're familiar with instead of really moving forward. So yes, by asking that question, if I did move forward, what am I afraid might happen, can begin to reveal what those unconscious or subconscious fear-based beliefs are and give you the opportunity at least to have something to work with to help you move forward by letting them go when they make no more sense to you.
Good day, Bashar.
Good day.
I often, when I share a thought or advice, I tend to help people and help them to kind of shift from reality to reality, and they
Yes.
change.
Yes.
So I was wondering if that's my mission, or how can I discover more about what I came here to do on Earth?
You follow your passion to the best you can with no insistence on the outcome. Remain in a positive state. Constantly examine your belief systems and let go of the ones that don't work for you. It's as simple as that. Your mission is to be yourself as fully as you can. That's everyone's purpose. How you do it is up to you. Your passion will guide you in that. And that's how you be of service and of best help to everyone. Don't put any pressure on yourself. Just be yourself.
Be myself.
Yes.
Cool. And
It's that simple.
So I have this question about the different types of beings, and what is
Yeah.
the difference between light beings and spirit guides, and what role do they have? And can we also receive messages from angels or archangels?
Of course, you can receive messages from any consciousness source whatsoever, depending upon the frequency that you happen to be at. So the idea is spirit guides can sometimes be considered light workers. It really doesn't matter in that sense what you label them to be. It's just a matter of what it is you identify with, what frequency you match, and what gives you the ability to download information that is constantly being sent to everyone. It's not a matter of asking for more information or more help. It's a matter of tuning yourself into the information and the help that is always already being sent by spirit guides, extraterrestrials, angels, what have you. It's a matter of you tapping in based on following your passion. Your passion will align your vibration to whatever it is you need at that moment.
And can anyone become a medium and talk to spirit?
No, not everyone has decided that that's the theme of their life, to express it that way. You all have the fundamental potential, but that doesn't mean that everyone will have chosen to express themselves that way. It may not be part of the theme of that person's life.
But if you have some curiosity about it, does that mean...
Then explore it. Then explore it.
Explore it.
Explore it. Follow your passion. Take it as far as you can. If it doesn't go the way you think, that's all right. It may not need to at this point. Sometimes your excitement comes in a particular form just because that's the form that will get you to take the action necessary that you need to take, so you'll wind up where you need to wind up to receive what it is you actually need to receive or do. So never assume that just because your excitement at any given moment comes in a particular way, that means that you have to actually wind up doing that thing. Right. That's why we say no assumption, no insistence, because you don't really know why it came to you that way. If it's going to wind up that you do the thing in the way that it came, well, then nothing's going to stop it as long as you keep following your passion and taking the action on the opportunities that are presented to you. So you don't even really have to worry about that. Just take it as far as you can. never assuming that it's going to wind up being that thing, never assuming that it's not going to wind up being that thing. Just see where it takes you, see where it leads. It will always lead you exactly where you need to be led in perfect timing to receive exactly what you need at that moment. These things work automatically when you understand how to use the formula.
Right. My wife and I went to Hawaii and visited the Haleakala crater.
Oh, all right.
And we did a meditation there, and I had a vision. I
Yeah.
was wondering, what are the beings that I saw?
Well, can you describe them?
They were light beings coming out of a spaceship, and they walked to the native people there. I was like seeing kind of a vision, and then they had some kind of a medical device where they were able to scan the body of somebody and see through their bodies, and also
And what do these beings look like to you? Can you describe them?
I was not able to see their faces. It was all light.
Were they tall? Were they short? Were they thin? Were they fat?
I think they had long hands, and they're kind of tall.
All right. This is connected to some of the kinds of beings that have been interacting with indigenous cultures around the world for many thousands of years. We cannot go into too much information about them at this time, but you will learn more about them in your own explorations. But if you focus on the idea that indigenous cultures in different places on your planet have been interacting with these kinds of beings for a long time, you may give yourself more information about how to go forward with this understanding.
Sounds good.
All right. Anything else?
Yeah, I was wondering that if there are like simple things we can do to protect Mother Earth. Like, can you mention like 3 things we can do today, simple, to help Mother Earth?
I think this is something you already understand. Do you not understand how to allow yourself to regenerate nature? How to explore alternative technologies that do not negatively impact your environment? Do you not understand these things?
Yeah, I understand. I was wondering if there's like something we can do that has more impact than other things.
It's the taking of the action that has the most impact you can possibly have, no matter what it is, as long as in the direction that you're talking about. It's the taking of any action in that direction that has the most impact, because most people talk about it but don't act on it.
Right.
So take action in whatever you're able to take action on that you deem to be representative, not so much of protection, but of healing, regeneration. Yes. Because remember, in a sense, it's not so much that you're saving the planet. The planet doesn't need saving. The idea is that you're saving the things that live on the planet.
On the planet, yeah.
Because even if everything is destroyed, the planet will regenerate without you, unless it is completely obliterated. And then even then, the molecules and atoms will reform somewhere else into a different place. So the idea is to simply take whatever action you are excited to take that is representative of healing, regeneration, and connections to nature in a more natural way. And that will have the impact it needs to have. Because remember, you already have all the impact you will ever have. By taking the action, you're not creating impact, you're revealing the impact you already have. So reveal yourself by taking those actions.
Thank you, Bashar.
You are welcome. Will that help?
Yes.
All right. Have a good day.
Have a good day.
Ha'atu Bashar.
Ha'atu. Good day.
I am so grateful to be interacting with you today.
Our deep appreciation to you for the co-creation of the interaction. What would you like to discuss?
So over the last couple of years, I've been remembering more and more contact dreams that I've had throughout my life.
All right.
And well, remembering isn't really the right way to put it because I never really forgot them. It's more that I'm just now realizing that's what they were.
All right.
And I've noticed some patterns. For example, one of the things that keeps happening is that I'm on a craft and then it starts to go up and I feel this intense pressure in my head.
Yes.
And it's so strong that sometimes it kind of freaks me out and it makes me want to wake myself up.
All right. Well, it's not uncommon for you to not necessarily be completely used to the idea of being shifted to other dimensions that have a very different frequency than your own. It's something that takes practice, and you can ultimately get used to it and let go of the, shall we say, physical body's innate and ingrained protective mechanisms that allow it to think that it has to go into survival mode when in fact everything will be just fine. So it may take some practice and it may take some time, but you can get used to it if you understand that the only thing that's happening is you're being shifted, and that you can always have the opportunity to go back to the frequency that allows your physical body to know that it's just fine.
Okay. And so it's kind of strange because my physical body is asleep in bed, right? It's only my energy body that's going up, or am I actually going up physically?
But you're still connected to physical reality, and therefore there is still a physical reaction in the body to what you're experiencing energetically. And that's what is coloring your experience. It's like having an anchor on the ocean floor that doesn't necessarily allow your ship to sail away as far as it could.
Okay, that makes sense. And any suggestions as to how I might get used to that? Or
up anchor.
Okay. My second question is, so at night I see these swirling ribbons of green light that are floating around my room.
Yes.
And I remember when I first started seeing them, I was about 12.
Yes.
And it was kind of strange because it just happened out of nowhere, quote unquote. And recently,
Popping out of somewhere, but go ahead.
So recently, these swirls, these ribbons of light that looked like mini aurora borealises, they're starting to take shapes, kind of like silhouettes.
Yes.
And sometimes they are sending green energy right at me, and I'm wondering what they are or who they are.
You are starting to allow your senses to penetrate into higher dimensions where other forms of consciousness exist. You are penetrating into the natural world of the elementals and therefore beginning to actually see them as they're capable of taking shapes. This is what began the legends and the lores of interacting with things like fairies and elves. So you're beginning to penetrate into the natural world of the elementals and allowing them to share their energy with you, so that you can develop a stronger relationship to the natural world and to the elementals that inhabit it.
Okay. And related to this green energy, a few months ago, I had a couple of dozen beings that I think were hybrids kind of pop in and out of my bedroom. And they're also glowing with this exact same color energy.
Yes. Well, again, it's the method that you're affording them. It's the route that you're affording them, because you are getting used to the idea of that particular vibrational energy of nature. You're allowing them to speak to you through it, and therefore they will take on that coloring aspect as they're using your preferred method to communicate with you.
Okay. And any specific significance for the color green? Is it heart?
It's heart energy, yes. And nature energy.
Okay. So my third question, I have met 3 individuals over the last year, all of whom feel very familiar to me.
Yes.
And even though I don't think they know each other, to me, it almost feels like they form some kind of a triad.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Many times you will meet different individuals who have made some form of agreement with you to reflect certain things to you. They could be counterparts from the same oversoul or not. But the agreement simply is that they're helping trigger certain realizations within you.
Okay. And one of the three, my friend AJ and I are both wondering what our relationship looks like on a higher level.
Well, that's a broad question. What do you mean, what it looks like?
I'm just curious as to, how we are connected.
Are you asking if you're part of the same soul family? The answer is yes.
Okay. Alrighty.
Will that do?
Yes, thank you very much.
You are very welcome. Aveo.
Aveo.
But the question has come up when I'm trying to spread this knowledge to others. What if the excitement isn't necessarily positive? So, for example, a violent person may find excitement in harming others. A racist might find excitement in harming someone of this particular race for no other reason than that they exist. A bigot, et cetera, et cetera. Or somebody that wants to sleep with a best friend's partner or like a relative's partner. They may feel very excited about this, but I assume that this is obviously different from what you're teaching with the heart's excitement. So how do we differentiate between what is the excitement we should follow? I hope that makes sense. Thank you.
You are using the term excitement in a very loose way, because the idea of someone doing harm to another is not actually following their excitement, even though they may call it such. You have to have the ability to discern the difference between excitement and anxiety. And just because someone is going through anxiety and acting out on anxiety and calling it excitement doesn't make it so. Excitement, by definition, is a positive path. That's how we're defining it. Excitement, passion, so on and so forth. The idea is to simply understand that if they are doing the definition of mechanical negativity, segregation, separation, diminishment, control, then these are not synonyms for excitement, because excitement has a positive definition. They are equal to anxiety and fear, and you have to recognize the difference whether they do or not.
Hi, hello, Bashar.
Good day, good day.
Wow, it's so joyful to feel your energy.
And yours as well.
I was in a very joyful state in the end of 2020, and I almost popped out of the physical dream, and yes. I felt that I cleared all my karma, but by
remember what we said about karma.
Oh.
Karma is not the idea of building up negative energy. The idea is to simply take actions that course correct you back into alignment with your true self.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Yes.
And then, however, I made some decisions that maybe I met with somebody whose vibration maybe is incompatible with me. We met each other physically, very close to each other, and I felt that my energy almost broken up into pieces. Yes. And I had a really challenging year in 2021. But
congratulations.
Thank you. And by your help and by many beings' help, yes. Because I was in a multi-dimensional state, beyond the time and space state.
All right. Well, you always have help. You always have help.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And every time I see your title of your new transmission, I started healing myself automatically, and I feel much better now.
All right.
And but I found that till now I still have some challenging meditating, and when I wake up at night in the dream state, there are so many dreams, maybe bad dreams, and some emotions still coming up.
Yes. So, well, you may be working things out in the dream state.
Oh, okay.
Would you rather work them out physically?
I don't know. I'm just wondering if I can do something, if I really need to do something now to rebalance the energy faster, or is there anything I can do to help to rebalance the energy now?
Are you familiar with what we have shared with all of you called the formula, and are you following it as precisely as you possibly can?
Oh yes, of course I'm familiar with the formula, but maybe not precisely, that much precisely.
Why not?
Um,
Is there something you're afraid of discovering within yourself?
I'm just wondering how to express myself, how to express my love and my emotion more accurately.
Well, are you acting on your passion in life? Are you acting on your passion in life?
Yes, as much as I can now.
Well, what makes you think you're falling short of expressing yourself? How would you like to express yourself that you're not doing? Can you describe the difference? Can you give us an example of what it would be like to express yourself more fully as opposed to what you're now doing?
Oh, yeah. Sometimes when I communicate with people, maybe I can communicate with them in a more friendly way. But sometimes I get into my fear state.
Well, that's what I'm telling you. You have fears that you haven't let go of because you haven't discovered the beliefs behind why you're holding on to them. So you need to do more self-investigation to find out why you're choosing to hold on to those beliefs, why you think you need to do that instead of letting them go. That's the process that will help you let go of them and not be afraid to find them so you can let go of them. And then there will be no negative belief systems in you for you to have a fear reaction in your communications with others. You understand?
Oh yeah.
Well, then that's using the formula more precisely if you do that. And it will help you let go of those negative and fear-based beliefs. But first you have to discover why you're holding on to them. Remember, you don't hold on to anything that you don't believe serves you. So if you have a negative belief within you that is making you believe that holding on to that negative belief is actually a better alternative than letting it go, you will always hold on to it until you understand that there is nothing to be afraid of in the better alternative. So dig down and investigate those beliefs. Listen precisely to what they are telling you. Listen to the story that the belief is telling you and realize it's nothing but a story, that you get to decide what works for you, and you don't have to buy into what the negative and fear-based belief is telling you you should be believing in. So do that work and it will help you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
And there is an example. For example, if someone is keep telling me you can never win, and maybe I'm absorbing your energy, how do I respond to that person?
How do you believe that? Why do you believe that? Why do you believe what they're saying?
It's totally nonsense.
Well, then act like it's nonsense.
Yeah, but I just felt a little bit sad that he would say that.
Why are you sad? Then that means you're buying into the energy. If a stranger, if a total stranger walked up to you on the street and said those things, would you pay them any attention? No, because they don't know who you are. Just because you know someone doesn't mean you can't react to them or respond to them as if they were a stranger when they say something you know has nothing to do with you and everything to do with their own fears. They're just projecting it on you because they're afraid to look within themselves and let those things go. So if you know that and can view them that way, you won't react to what they're saying in any sad or negative way, because you will know that they're just working on their own issues, even though they may be projecting them on you. And therefore you can simply feel compassion for them and understanding for them and not sadness for them. See them as powerful beings and allow them to work through their own issues. Don't see them as something sad or you're depriving them of being reinforced in the positive direction. All you're doing is reinforcing the negativity that they're already experiencing within themselves that they're afraid to look at, and that's why they project those things on you. Make sense?
Oh, thank you so much. Yes.
All right.
And one last question. I'm wondering, how do you use your body as a light bulb spaceship to shifting between dimensions?
It's a matter of changing the frequency to match the frequency of a different dimension, which our ships can sense.
Oh.
Remember, our ships are intelligent. They are solidified projections and light projections of our own higher minds. So they're connected to multiple dimensions already and can tell the difference vibrationally in frequency between one and another.
Oh, okay. So the body is really not. It does not belong to a certain dimension. The body will have a different frequency in different places.
Yes, exactly so. And a different way of seeing and perceiving it. Yes.
Okay. So I'm just learning more about the body, the essence of my body.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Have fun. Thank you. Good day.
Good day. Thank you very much.
Magic in your life.
And on the topic of magic, my first question relates to a series of experiences that my husband and I have been having.
Yes.
We've been synchronistically guided to the particular permission slip of doing some shamanic ceremonies.
Yes.
During one of these ceremonies, I started to notice something flying out of the corner of my eye, just a gray flying blur. And at first, I was only seeing it out of the corner of my eye. And then during later ceremonies, it started flying in front of us and it started engaging our animals. And then we realized, oh, our animals can see this thing too.
Probably before you did.
Yes, I think so. I think so for sure. And it just looks like a flying blur. It's something that moves really, really fast.
Yes.
And throughout the ceremonies that we've done, we've had more and more contact with this being, to the point where one time my husband had fallen asleep and I saw it again out of the corner of my eye. I was able to follow it. And then suddenly it grazed both of my hands as it flew by. And it was so startling and it was so warm to the touch. The temperature was very, very warm.
It's because it's on a higher frequency and therefore it activated more molecular action in your hands.
Right. And when that happened, I almost couldn't believe that it touched me. And so as if it could read my mind, it repeated the whole sequence again, grazed my hands again.
Yes.
And again, it was super warm.
It's attempting to instill within you the vibratory level that would allow you to synchronize with it so you can see it more clearly.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And so occasionally I've had some interesting telepathic impressions from this being.
Yes.
Once it said something like, I play with the animals all the time. Feel free to join us if you can be in the moment. And this message came with a feeling of mischievous giggle.
Yes, you're dealing with an elemental. This is part of the idea of the third phase that we mentioned, having to do with the idea of the cryptic and shamanic journey. You are interacting with an elemental consciousness that is attempting to help you understand what frequency you need to rise to in order to match its frequency in order to be able to perceive it more clearly.
That makes sense. And when you say elemental, is there anything more you can give me about that? Like, is it a fairy? Does it have a name?
It can express itself in a number of different ways. For now, we have to leave it at the process and the experience you are having before we do anything to crystallize or concretize this idea into something a little bit less frequency than what it's already giving you. In other words, we don't want to create a definition or a symbol for you that would actually stop you from exploring the higher frequency.
Okay, that makes sense. And I'm getting this feeling that this being wants me to communicate to other people that they are around us, that they are around
Yes.
most, that they're
Yes.
just waiting to make contact, that they want.
Well, they're not waiting, but the idea is that they understand that it can be done and that this is the time when your awareness that it can be enhanced, which is why, in a sense, we're now at the timing where more of the cryptic meditational exercises can be given. Again, it's about perfect timing. So what you're experiencing is your awareness of the timing of why at this particular moment it is the perfect timing to allow people to enhance their ability by going further into the cryptic meditations.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes
I know.
sense. And the animals are always seeing them, right?
Pretty much. Not always, but pretty much, yes.
So when I'm hanging out with my cat and my cat suddenly looks above my head and follows something with their eyes, is that the same thing?
Well, they're seeing something that is on a higher frequency plane. It isn't necessarily all the time what you're dealing with in this conversation, but they may be seeing something else that is invisible to your senses, yes.
Okay. Well, I'm really interested in this elemental thing, so I think I'm gonna go explore that.
All right, then do so and have fun.
Thank you very much. Ha'atu.
Ha'atu and Aveo.
Aveo.
Hi Bashar, I'm Joe from Osaka, Japan. I'd like to ask you about veganism. So I became a vegan about 4 months ago, and it's been serving me pretty well. There are multiple reasons why I became a vegan, but ultimately it all comes down to this notion that you've talked about before, that people are expression of nature, not just isolated individuals within it. I think that living in harmony with other animals is crucial for us to go to the next level, if you will. So here are my questions. First one, what's your thought on veganism? Second one, is it have to do with people's consciousness? I'm currently trying to spread the idea of veganism throughout Japan, which became one of my passions. Thank you, Bashar. Bye.
Living in harmony with anything is essential for you to continue to raise your frequency. Veganism can be a result of living on a certain frequency level where you simply lose the urge to eat certain things that have to do with animal product. But it doesn't necessarily have to be that way for everyone right away. In other words, don't force yourself. Let it be your natural biological urges to come and go. If you are centered within yourself, you will know what you're attracted to consume. Sometimes a body on your planet at this time may need certain amounts of meat protein, although most of you don't need as much as you think. But the idea, of course, is how it's done, how the relationship is formed. In many indigenous societies that hunt, remember that they're doing it in a way, generally speaking, or at least they used to, that is more in harmony with nature in the sense of culling the animals that are not necessarily the strongest. So the idea is that the animal itself, in its state of being, is choosing to be of service as the human is choosing to be of service to the animals in that particular kind of a relationship of consuming the animals that may be lessening the strength of the entire group of animals to allow the entire group of humans to also become stronger. But again, as you raise your frequency, you may simply naturally find that you're no longer gravitating or have the urge to eat what might be referred to as denser matter, and you might go for the lighter. But still remember that vegetables also have a consciousness. So again, as you evolve, you may eventually come to the point where you simply absorb energy directly, as we do in our civilization, because we don't eat anymore at all. But the idea is, again, that doesn't mean that we're more spiritual or that we're better than you are. We simply exist on a different vibrational level that doesn't require those kinds of activities. And the animal life on our planet is symbiotic. They're not predatory. So no animal is ever killed in an exchange of energy. But again, don't in any way, shape, or form negatively judge yourselves for the state that you're at, because that'll only hold you back. Simply allow there to be a natural biological rhythm of what needs to go on, and just do your best to make sure that any relationship you have with an animal is the most natural connection, organic expression that it can be, no matter what that relationship may be. So that's how you evolve, is by letting what is be done in a more natural way and simply letting it change in its own natural timing.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
I'm so excited to be able to speak with you again.
We are excited as well.
So my first question has two parts to it.
Yes.
Have you observed other civilizations on other planets going through their awakening? And part of that process includes those beings realizing and waking up to the fact that their leaders don't have their best interest in mind. And lastly, how does the Interstellar Alliance assist with those beings who are wanting to wake up and break free?
All right. First and foremost, yes, we are interacting with other civilizations who are going through their own awakenings. There are a few, relatively few, that are in a position of their awakening where they are experiencing the idea of oppression or control in the way that you're experiencing it on Earth. We find that that's relatively uncommon, at least in our experience with other civilizations. So the idea of their awakening doesn't necessarily involve some of the same techniques or approaches that are utilized with regard to our relationship to your world and the few other ones we have seen that might be somewhat similar to what you're going through in the way you're going through it in terms of your awakening. The Interstellar Alliance, just like some of the enhancing bodies in our own planetary civilization, simply work to enhance, expand, magnify, and amplify the idea of stability, of peace, and in magnifying and amplifying this synchronistically, it radiates a vibration out through the galaxy that allows people another option to tap into. And we remind them that they can. We remind them that that vibration is there for them. This is one of the things we are doing by sharing information with all of you, so that if you tap into it and harmonize with that vibration, that organizational synchronistic vibration that allows our society to operate on pure synchronism all the time, then you will start experiencing yourself, navigating yourself through different parallel versions of Earth that become more and more and more and more reflective of that particular vibrational experience. The idea of quote unquote breaking free